Good evening. It's 7:30, and I herewith call the City of Gaithersburg's Historic District Commission September 28th, 2016 meeting to order. And well, let me start with checking who's on the dais. May I start with you on the left, please?
Yes, Trudy Schwartz, Planning Division.
Frank Johnson, Assistant City Attorney.
Mark Feinstein.
Mary Jo LaFrance.
Chris Kurtz.
John Roddy. Dean Ventola.
Robert Love.
Chris Berger, planner.
Very well. We do have a quorum, and I'm going to read our preliminary statement by which we're bound. This commission is empowered to meet and act under Article 12 of the City Code of Gaithersburg. The technical qualifications of the staff of this commission and the members of the commission are on file with the City of Gaithersburg, are available on request to any applicant, and are hereby made a part of the legal record of each and every application heard this evening. Each application is heard this evening is considered on its own merits and is not to be considered as establishing a precedent for any other application. So let me start with an approval of the minutes. Has everybody had an opportunity to look at the August 14th, 24th meeting minutes?
Yes.
Any comments or concerns?
I have two.
Okay, go ahead, Dean.
I didn't get a chance to write down exactly where they were, but one of them was in section 3, it said something regarding during large snowfalls. I just like the word during to be changed to after. And there was one sentence in here that the paragraph was not clear. And so I just ask Chris, when you get a chance, to go through and just correct the pronunciation. That's
Okay.
all I have.
Okay, we are lucky. He was a journalism major and worked at it, so I think we have a good scribe. So the chair would entertain a motion that, subject to the changes Commissioner Ventola has suggested, that we approve the minutes as provided. Have we a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Very well, the minutes are approved. All right, we're now going to move to Historic Area Work Permit 7414, 5 South Summit Avenue. And Chris, have we a staff
Yes, we do.
presentation?
Any conflicts?
Oh, forgive me. First off, yes, are there any conflicts on the dais of anybody considering this?
No.
I would have one. I'm not going to be able to vote on this, but I'm actually on the ad hoc park commission, committee.
Okay.
So I'm going to.
All right. So Frank, let me ask you, is he allowed to enter our discussion even though we won't be voting?
Generally, when you have a recusal, they should not, in fact, just for appearance's sake. This
Okay.
is a courtesy review, so it's not necessarily regulatory, but just in terms of appearances.
No, this is.
It's actually not a bad thing to
Oh, this is
even
not
step
listed
down and
as a
just sit in
courtesy.
the audience.
This is
Because
not listed
part
as
of
a
it may
courtesy
be-
review.
Pardon me?
Mm-mm.
It's not a courtesy.
It's-
Oh,
is.
I understood that had been.
I mean, we'll be
comment
courteous,
made
of
at one
course,
point
but
because it was being
to a
discussed.
fault, but.
No, I understand that. But in any event, regardless, it's the same situation. Generally recommended just, have a seat in the audience during that, because that way you have every right as a member of the public to offer an opinion. You may want to, indeed, given your background. But in terms of discussion by the commission, that would be by those who are participating and able to vote on that issue, so.
So, Robert, if you feel you'd like to weigh in,
Okay.
slink down there with
Let me know.
with the crowd.
And come on back when we're done.
All right, thank you, Frank, very much. Very well, Chris, fire away.
I'm going to give a brief introduction before I introduce our presenter. The subject property, it's 5 South Summit Avenue, was locally designated by the city in 1983. The red boundary on the map you see on the screen is the designated area. The property comes before the HDC in accordance with Section 24-227A of the City Code, which requires a historic area work permit for work on a designated historic resource. In 2014, an ad hoc committee was appointed by the mayor to study the plaza and identify goals and features for the space. The Planning Commission reviewed the plans at its September 7th meeting. They approved with no conditions, but they did make suggestions. The Planning Commission's meeting minutes are included in the packet as Exhibit 4. The city's responses to the commission's suggestions are included as a memo in Exhibit 5. A portion of the project is located in a Maryland Historical Trust easement and will be reviewed by the MHT Easement Committee at its October 4th meeting. Stephen Torgerson, a design associate at AMT Engineering, will present the plans, and he will be joined by project manager Sandra Gross with the city's Public Works Department and the city's Economic Development Director, Tom Lonergan.
And once you're seated, when you first speak, if you would give your names for the record, please.
Steve Torgerson, A. Morton Thomas.
Tom Lonergan, Economic Development Director for the city.
Sandra Gross, Department of Public Works.
Great, thank you very much.
You're ready to
Up
go,
and running?
yeah.
Okay. So I'm going to walk the commission through the plans that we have developed over the last months. And this is an illustrative site plan that shows the tree locations. And the next image that I'm going to show you has those tree locations taken off or scaled back so that you can see what's behind them. And I will walk through each piece of the plaza space, the design intent, and the associated resource as far as historic infrastructure is concerned. So the Fountain Plaza is this space here that's highlighted in red. The plaza is intended to be a fountain space that can be turned on and turned off. The benefits of doing that is that it activates the corner and the space while still providing other opportunities for use in this space. For example, if somebody wants to sit and do a concert, a small concert, or if somebody wants to set up and serve food or beverages or things like that, then the fountain can just be turned off and the plaza can be used for other uses and spaces. And so that's what we're really focusing on, is creating a multi-use space. And I apologize, I should have pointed out, I'm going to go back. This is East Diamond Avenue right here, and this is South Summit Avenue. So just to orient everybody towards the plan. This is the MARC station right here. The museum is located here. This is the caboose right here. This is the existing locomotive, and the Bud car is sitting off to the side over here. So ultimately, with the fountain turned off, lots of uses can be used, and lots of different users can use this space. The hardscape that we are looking at is twofold. For the fountain area, this would be pavers that are a larger paver that are a little bit lighter in color. One of the reasons that we chose the lighter color is so that the space does not heat up as much with the solar. And around that, so the rest of the plaza space will basically be the brick that we have right outside the door. And it's actually the brick that is currently being used in front of the MARC station. It's not the brick that's being currently used in the existing plaza space. That's a different brick. The parking lot has been reduced in size to be able to accommodate the plaza, and we're really calling it a parking terrace. And the reason we're calling it a parking terrace is that this entry can be blocked off, and then the space can actually be used for other opportunities, such as a farmer's market or if food trucks wanted to come in, then it can really open up the space for lots of different uses. The benches are on the outside or the edges of the fountain plaza, and also at the bus stop. These benches have hidden lights under the edges of them to help accent the plaza space and to provide additional lighting during the evening hours. And those lights are actually controlled by a sensor. And I will talk about that a little bit more as we go forward in the lighting plan. Oh, by the way, some of the benches have backs on them. Some of them are backless. However, there are these intermittent arms that can be placed on the benches to help to break them up into smaller bench spaces. There's 2 pedestrian bridges that allow people that have parked in the parking lot to easily move to the plaza space, and they will be made of wood, and they cross over the top of the microbial retention. Here's an example. This one's actually at Brookside Gardens, so if you actually want to go see it, you can see it there. We right now have 2 air conditioning units that are on the back end of the Mark Station, and we are proposing an artistic screen to wrap those to help hide them. The artistic screen basically has a number of images that are from Gaithersburg, Gaithersburg's past, and go all the way from trains to the stores and other scenarios. The way that the screens are actually made is that they're perforated metal screens. And so in the darker areas, there are more dots, or more of the metal is taken away. In the lighter areas, there are fewer dots, so less material is taken away. There are proposed shade structures. The reason that it is stated as an ad alternate is because of our budget. We want to make sure that we can get the base in under the budget that we currently have. The shade structures are intended to provide instant shade in the plaza space. And this is an example of what it would look like, and then this is kind of the schematic from the construction drawing. So new lighting will be put into the plaza and the parking lot. The parking lot lights they will look like this, and then the light that is closest to the train station here and here will actually have some down lights on the back of it to help highlight the trains during the evening hours. These lights here that surround the plaza space are actually, it's this light here, but it's mounted on a pole. And instead of facing upwards, it's actually facing downwards into the plaza space. And it ensures that we can provide sufficient lighting on the plaza for evening use if that's desired, and as part of just keeping it safe and creating an aesthetic and ambiance that's desirable. We are also proposing lights that are along South Summit Avenue. These lights are basically the light that is there now. However, we're converting it to LED to be more energy efficient as we come into this next decade. The benefits of that is that you don't have to change the light bulbs out as often, and we're using less energy. And it will set up a little bit of a case study so that South Summit Avenue, at some point, it could continue to be converted to LED using the same poles. And then there are a couple of lights that are located at each end of the train station. And I have images that I'll show of that here shortly. But right now there are kind of Home Depot spotlights that are located there. We're proposing to replace those with a light that is similar to this. And then finally, we're proposing some lights that are tucked up under the eave in front of the train station. And so I'll show those in a little bit more detail. So this is the detail of the eave. It's basically taking a section here. These lights would just be tucked up here, so really you won't even see them during the daylight hours. And then it will cast light down into this space during the evening hours. This is looking up into the eave, and the lights will actually be installed right here on this edge. So they won't be very noticeable at all. This is an image of the existing Home Depot light on this corner, and there's one that matches on the other side here. So these are the lights that we would be replacing with this light right here, and it's the same light that we're using on the poles in the plaza space. The planting is broken down into a couple of areas. This we're calling the train alley, and we are proposing to actually put train tracks back down in this area and then planting around them. This is the planting that was done around the High Line. And then the other areas for planting are focused on these areas here, here, and here for stormwater management. The design has been kept so that they are quite shallow. They, on one end, they're about 3 inches of ponding of water. On the other end, it's a little bit more just because we have a slope, but it's not that much. We kept the bioretentions a little bit bigger so that they could be very shallow, so that really they appear just as part of the landscape. These are the trees and the species that we are proposing. The trees up front in this area are Alemankiers. They're smaller in size, and that's because of the power lines that run in front of the property. And then in the middle here and here are larger trees, even slightly larger trees in the middle of the parking lot. And they will create both color during the spring with the Alemankiers, and then great fall color through all of the species. And that's the presentation. So we will gladly take any questions, any remarks or thoughts.
All right. Well, first off, thank you very much for all the hard work and planning you've done. I do want to ask if any members of the public, is anybody in the audience want to speak to this in any way, pro, con, down the middle? Anybody? Okay. Well, then what I'd like to do is, if I may start with you, Mark, and what are your thoughts?
Well, first of all, I want to just commend you. It's a beautiful plan, and I think it'll be great for the city, and it'll really activate that corner in a really kind of cool way to think of the splash park, and also to be able to use it in for multiple uses. I think is a great idea. I have 2 questions, or maybe 1 question, 1 comment. The first is more of a curiosity related to parking and the decision to reduce the parking count. And it's not really in our purview, but just was curious about that. And then the second question is, our second comment is, the one thing I find that's a little bit incongruent with the whole design is the pole-mounted light fixtures at the plaza. And I think those fixtures, I think they work well as a building mounted fixtures, as the spotlights that you have on the existing train station building, but they look too small. I mean, maybe I'm misreading how tall those poles are going to be, but they look out of scale, especially compared to the other poles around the parking lot.
Yeah, so let me talk about parking first. And we looked at alternatives to keep as much parking as we could. And at the end of the day, is what that created was a plaza space that was basically what you have now. And that was not the vision or the goal for this corner. And so as we collaborated together, both the city and us as a design team, we discussed, okay, well, what other alternatives can we do? And so this is where we struck a balance between still providing parking for this area while still allowing sufficient space for the plaza. One benefit that we have is that it still provides parking that for the adjacent businesses. Is it as much as it was before? No, it's not, but it still does allow that access. In addition to that, and I don't know if, Tom, you want to speak to the future development, or if you want me to.
I don't mind. I just comment that there was an ad hoc committee, as you know, that met for 9 months. It was, there were several business owners from Old Town who were part of that committee, and there were different schools of thought on this parking lot. There's a parking garage nearby. Some people thought that the lot should be eliminated entirely. Others thought it should be preserved, even expanded. This was a compromise. As Steve mentioned, there is surface parking just to the east, portion of the Fishman lot. There's also city parking that's over there as well. And there is a potential new project for 315 East Diamond that may incorporate additional public parking in a structured garage in the future.
Okay.
So let me talk about the lights. So this right here, and at this point I wished I could blow it up 3 times as big, but this is the scale of those plaza lights here compared to a person. The intent of those lights is not to be so much of a showcase as to push them into the background. As the trees continue to grow, and to let them not occupy so much of a character. Let the other aspects of the plaza space actually create that character. And so that was the focus of that design intent and why we went with them. The other benefit of those lights is that they can actually be focused, and depending on the rotation of the lens, you can highlight specific areas of the plaza space. And it really does give the design team, and it actually gives the city a very key way to highlight and put light where it really needs to be, so that we're not splashing light into areas where it's not needed or required.
Okay. The last question I have is related to you talked about the barrier to the parking lot. Is that an actual physical barrier that's going to be part of the design, or is that something that someone will come out and actually put a temporary barrier should it be necessary?
The latter is what we have so far discussed.
Okay.
So there wouldn't be a gate there that somebody can swing closed. It would be, hey, this weekend we're doing this, we're going to barricade it.
Okay.
So.
Good.
I was concerned with the design of the same lighting simply because it's so modern in comparison to the other lighting that has more of a historic look. But I think you've answered my question in the sense that it appears that it's going to be in the background. The trees are going to get larger, so it's not going to be a focal point. So that's the only comment I have, besides it looks like a very nice plan. Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner Roddy?
Will there be a deviation from grade for the water feature?
Pardon, explain a little bit more.
Is
Is it bowed down?
Yeah, will there be a depression?
No, there will not. So the elevation across here will be consistent. So the grade here and the grade here is what actually happens is this grade does slope downward, but these pavers are basically on top of a pedestal system. So when the water drips down into the basin that's below. The grade across here slopes a little bit to here just to make sure that we don't get any of this water running towards any of the historic infrastructure. But the grade is consistent across, which is about 2% from here down to here.
In terms of inches, what would that be?
Across the entire site,
No, across the water feature.
there's no grade change. Like, I can
Well,
just,
you just said there was gonna be drainage.
there will be drainage, but the drainage is just tipping the plaza a little bit towards the center. So
Yeah.
it's not, there's no elevation, there won't be a step elevation per se. As far as grade change, it's like less than an inch
Okay, thank you.
running towards it, because it's only a 1.5% slope in towards the fountain itself.
Thank you.
Thank you. Commissioner
All right, I
Ventolo?
have several questions and then several comments. How many spaces will be lost with the parking lot?
Trudy, do you remember? I often have a little
11 or
cheat
12.
sheet.
Yeah, I think it was about 11 or 12 that we discussed
Okay.
at the planning commission.
All right.
And I think that's what was presented in the earlier presentation as well.
Okay.
Might have been to planning.
One of the train cars, the biggest one, you said, what did you refer to it as, a bud car?
Bud car.
And you said it's off of the diagram. Is that going to remain or is that going to be removed?
So the Bud car has, and Tom, please jump in if you feel free to jump in here. The Bud car, it's proposed that it come and is slated for this slot right here at some
Let them
future
get
date.
that up on the screen, so,
Oh,
thank you.
it's slated for this slot here.
So it will
Yeah.
remain on site, you're saying? It's just going to be moved?
Yeah, at
Okay.
some future date.
Okay, all right. And I noticed that there was a triangular piece on the bottom right that is no longer shown on the diagram. Is that being sectioned off and put on the adjacent property?
That is correct.
So it's, okay, is that going to be sold or is that still city property?
I'll let Tom field that question.
Is it a tough question? You can pass.
It's not a tough question, I won't pass it. It's now a part of 315 East Diamond Avenue, which is owned by the city, and we do have a purchase agreement with a developer for a
Okay.
potential mixed-use project for the site, but we're just getting that off the ground.
Okay. Chris, can you hit page 7 up on the screen for me?
I believe that's you, Steve.
Oh, okay.
You mean page 7 of the staff report?
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, is it, he has, on the PowerPoint, there's a better rendering.
Yeah, it's a blow-up, so you could do that. It's the one that's Exhibit 3, I guess, labeled in this
Okay.
diagram.
It's,
Yeah.
that shows the fencing around the,
Oh, yes.
If you could bring that up
is
on the
that,
screen.
is that the one that shows the
This
screen
one.
around?
It's not up there.
It's on, yeah.
No, it's
That's
this
the
guy right here.
screen.
If you,
Right in?
It's the it's the air conditioner.
Exhibit
Yeah.
3,
That's what he's showing.
Yeah,
I don't
that's what
see it
I'm,
up there.
Yeah, this is the screen.
oh, well, the diagram for it is
The
a little
plan
bit small.
diagram.
Yeah.
Okay, so do you want me to go to the enlargement of the entire site?
Well,
I
it says
can
it's
pull it up. I
It
can
says
pull
it's
it up.
Exhibit 3, and I just have a question about that plan. And there it is. It's the bottom plan, and there appears to be a photo at the top left of the, of the two diagrams, the bottom diagram, and it's the top left part. Yeah, there's a photo there, and it has green or bluish green arrows. What does that represent? I kept looking at that and looking at it, and I could not figure out what those elements are.
So I just brought it up on my screen. It's the lighting plan, actually.
I remember you describing the lighting and where they are, I get that. But you have these lines converging on a photograph. So what does the photograph represent?
Okay, so this,
The one, you keep going
Yeah.
further up, that, to the right of that? That
Yes.
photo, no, not the diagram, the photo right in the middle. What
okay,
is that-
so this
why is
photo
that
right
there?
here is, there's actually a light that's showing these being used, just how we're proposing to use them.
Oh, okay.
And so is what
Okay.
happened is it's this suite of lights right
Okay.
here represents the
Okay.
lights in the plaza
Okay.
space.
So it's the same fixture, just three different
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
that's
okay,
correct.
Okay, all right. Can you explain to me two things, and it might be one and the same, the micro retention pond locations and their detailing, and then still up on that plan, it looks like there's triangular areas. There's 4 stacked triangle areas on the left-hand side. What are those? They were colored green on your rendering, and I couldn't tell what they were. These guys right here.
So they're is it the parking lot light?
It's
Well, go to
the,
the
it's the
diagram.
Steinberger lights,
Go to the diagram. Keep going down, the plan diagram, I'm sorry.
Yes.
those lights right there.
Okay, go up, just a little. See those 4
Sternbergers.
bands that look like they're part of to the left of the plaza?
The bioretention, I think.
Yeah, I guess they're bioretention. I can't tell what's
Yeah.
going on there.
It's the
What do they look
Sternberger
like?
lights.
Yes.
Okay.
So,
What is the triangular sections in those? What is that? Is that a change of material? Is it the grass? Is it
so no.
subsurface?
So yes, these pieces right here.
Yes,
That is actually where the ponding of the water is.
subsurface.
It's actually, it'll actually pond above grade for less than 24 hours.
Okay.
And that's where it ponds it's about 3 inches deep.
So when it's dry, what does it look like?
When it's dry, it will look like, more like this planting here.
Okay, so it's actual planting then, it's all,
That's correct.
oh, okay. Again, I was unclear when I was reading through the report. I just kept looking and looking, couldn't figure it out, even with the details, I wasn't clear on it. Okay, for the parking lot, going back to the diagram, you have a couple of islands in there.
Yes.
I like the idea that this is gonna be given over to the vendors at certain times. So my question is, are those raised islands with curbs or are they flat? And you can see where I'm going with my question. I think they'd be more useful if they were flat.
So, yeah, we had a great discussion about this actually, and they are raised with curbs. The discussion really ultimately was on maintenance and being able to protect the trees that are proposed for that space. So let me go to the rendering. These are the islands here and here. And the concern came out about making sure that these trees could be protected by vehicles coming in.
Okay.
And we did discuss, well, if we got rid of the curbs, would we put bollards in, for example, to protect the trees? And then it started to become cost prohibitive to be able to actually implement that version
You would
of the
need too many
design.
bollards.
That's
You have
correct.
to encircle it, so I get it.
Yep.
Okay. Those are the end of my questions, pretty much. I just do want to say, I would like to add a comment. My comment is that there are so many extraordinary and wonderful things in your plan. I actually ran out of space to write everything in. I'll give you some things that I just thought were fantastic. I liked when I read about the artistic Gaithersburg images on the screen. I thought that was terrific. I do have a question or a thought that if it is perforated, I'm worried that you can actually look through to the AC units or the mechanical units, as well as it will not block sound. So may want to give that some further thought. I liked that you had the lighting under the benches. I think that was a very creative idea. I love how you're going to create the parking lot and go into a terrace feel and give it over to the vendors. I think that works very well. And I can tell you, I'm probably, if I was sitting on that committee, I would be one of the proponents to reduce or eliminate the parking lot because you have the parking garage almost across the street. And when you, whenever you have city events like the one we just had, the 4th of July, there was completely closed off to the vendors, and I didn't see any concern, any people not being able to park. So I thought 11 spaces or 12 spaces reduced down. I don't think they'll be missed for what you're going to gain. I like the idea that the fountain can become a plaza. I think that's wonderful, multifunction. It's really smart thinking. I like the cantilever shade structures. I thought they were visually very exciting, and I think are going to be a welcome addition to that area because I have to tell you, it's very hot on that street in the middle of the summer, so that's wonderful. I like that you're going to change over to the LED lighting. I love the idea that you're gonna put in the train alley with the train tracks, and I love the idea of the colorful trees, the vibrant images that you're gonna get. So you have my support, I can tell you.
Thank you.
Okay. I always bat. Tom, did you want to say something?
No?
Okay. I always bat last, so I echo the kudos you've heard, and Dean enumerated a lot of them. The only difference I would have is, you know, obviously you've gone through what you needed to go through to come down to the parking, and I would leave it as is, but I think the MOLDA functionality is brilliant, and my wife and I moved into the area 15 years ago, and I think it was maybe 4 or 5 years after that, a charrette team came in for the city, and was that, what, 10, 11 years ago? And it is thrilling. They had a rendering then, and this is before Artstone, and it's just beautiful to see this come to fruition. The other thing is, you know, I don't want to take too much more time just, you know, drooling over you guys, but particularly the brilliance of the water coming up. If any of you have been down in Rockville City Center, they do that, and it's just great. The kids can run around and play in the water in the summer, and when you don't need it, you don't need it. The only comment I would have, the only thing that I found, I'm going to use Mark's word incongruent, was the style of the benches. They seem to me to be quite starkly modern, so I guess, you know, beauty is in the eye of the beholder, and that is not our province, but I just, you know, if I were king of the world, I would probably be doing something that more reflected something in the spirit that you would have found in the vernacular of the train station, but just brilliant work. So, do we have a motion to approve this plan as presented, along with whatever suggestatory comments we had?
I so move.
Okay,
I'd second it.
all right. So
Want me
we,
to read it?
Yeah.
sure, please.
Okay. I move that the Historic District Commission, based on the exhibits submitted, the applicant's testimony, and the staff report findings and recommendation, approve historic area work permit, HIST-7414-2016, rehabilitation of Old Town Park Plaza, finding it in compliance with section 24-227.2 of the city code with no conditions.
All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? The ayes have it, so that's 5-0. Thank you very much, brilliant job.
When do you
Brilliant
you
job.
anticipate building it?
This spring.
Great.
So I think as soon as the snow is melted, that things will start to be moved.
Wow. Well, it's gonna be really a wonderful revitalization of that corner.
Yes, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So, Robert, as you crawl back aboard, thank you for your work on the committee. It was
I
just
forgot
very,
it was you
very
on the committee. I would have had
thoughtful
so
design.
many other issues.
Brilliant. Very well. Next up, we have historic area work permit 7401. And do we have a staff presentation on that?
Yes.
Okay.
The subject property at 111 Mean Avenue is non-contributing to the Chestnut Mean Historic District. The one-story Rambler was built circa 1953. The HDC approved the existing deck in 2000, and the HDC approved the existing fence the following year in 2001. Here's another view of the deck and fence. The project includes 2 work items: alteration of the existing deck and installation of a gate in the existing fence. According to section 24-227A of the City Code, a historic area work permit is required for work on a designated historic resource. The applicant provided the following detailed plans, which I will now go through. So this is the plan view. You can see where the fence is located, and you can see where the deck is located. And you can see he indicated that the stairs on the west side will be removed, as well as the stairs on the east side. And this section of deck will be removed, measuring 6 feet. And here's another view of that. Again, this section of deck, 6 feet wide, will be removed. These stairs will be removed, and these stairs will be removed. And here's the elevation view as it looks right now. Here's the stairs to be removed on this side and on the east side, and then this section of deck. Now here's the work that will be done. We'll have a gate where the deck, a portion of the deck used to be. A section of the deck will be added to the east elevation, and the new stairs will be added as well. Here's another view of that. Again, here's a section of deck to be built. It'll be 10 feet wide. It'll include stairs. Paving will be added at the base of the stairs. And here's the gate location. And we have one more view of that. Here's what the gate would look like on an elevation view. I should add that there'll be a 2-foot section of fence that would be needed to fill the space there. And as you can see, the railing of the new portion of the deck would match the existing. And here is a rendering provided by the applicant of what the fence will look like. And here's another view. The fence would be approximately right here, because this is the section of the deck that would be removed. And these are the Chestnut Mean guidelines on page 16. They note the following: that new additional and replacement construction work on existing houses should be compatible with the style descriptions of the contributing resources. The applicant, Mr. Alex Bao, is here if you have any questions. If you'd please come to the podium.
Thank you, sir. Just, I forgot to ask, and I apologize, does anybody here have any conflicts in reviewing this? Okay, thank
Don't
you.
have a conflict, but I live in the same historic district.
Okay. Sir,
Good evening. My name is Xiaozhong Bao. I'm the owner of the property.
Would you like to add any comments?
No, I think Chris did a very good job on describing the whole project. Thank
okay,
you.
thank you. All right, may I start on the right this time, Robert?
Am I able to at least speak on it if I can't vote on it?
Is it a hist?
Yeah, you're back.
No,
Are
we have
He's-
quorum.
He's not,
We have,
Well, since it's quorum, and I'm not, and we have all the
I mean,
members,
you-
I'm
you-
still back to
Just in-
alternate,
Right, right.
back to alternate status.
Yes, no,
The alternate may need to participate if one of the members has to recuse for whatever reason. In this case, really Dean would be the first one you would look to for comment or input on that.
okay,
And that's based on our current rules.
gotcha. Okay, thank you. Dean?
okay. I just have a question, maybe Chris, you can answer this for
Sure.
me. How high, I see how high the existing fence is, it's 8 feet or almost 9 feet. How tall is the new one going to be?
It would be the same height.
Oh, okay. That's probably my only comment, is that fence, the existing fence and your proposed fence, to me seems way too high. Since it's in the backyard, I don't have that big of a concern, but if it was seen from the side, or certainly the front, that just seems way too high for me visually. Is there a reason you need it so high, 8-foot fence versus a 6-foot or a 5-foot?
That was actually a historical reason. I bought this property a few years back. The fence already existed.
Right.
The originally asking the realtor, originally there was a jacuzzi inside, so the owner want to block all the view. Now the jacuzzi is gone, the fence stay. I didn't want to change anything without any guidance.
Okay. That's really my only concern, is it just seems out of proportion, it seems too bulky. It doesn't seem like it fits in with your house or the neighborhood, but it's at the back of the property, so I don't have that big of a concern. I do think you are making an improvement on the fence from the existing to the proposed, but the height just seems way too tall. It just seems cavernous, I would imagine, when you were inside it, but from the outside, it just seems too massive to me. That's my only comment.
No question.
I would say that I agree with you, Dean, and at some point, if the applicant comes before us to replace it, maybe we could then, if it's replaced in its entirety, we could discuss height. But it already exists. So.
Oh, so it's remaining? I thought it was being rebuilt.
It's gonna be added on to.
Just simply the gate's gonna be added.
Oh, is that all? I
It'll
thought
be
the whole thing was
extended.
gonna be redone.
Yeah.
Oh, okay, my mistake then.
That's
It's
it.
a very nice gate.
And just another point of clarification, if I read it correctly, the fence was actually originally approved by the Historic
was
District.
approved
That's what
by
he
the
said in
HDC.
2001, and I'm wondering who's up. I want to take names.
I believe the mayor
I
and
haven't been
council.
here that long.
The mayor and
Perfect.
council were
Yeah.
HDC back
Perfect,
then,
yeah.
Dean.
We'll go beat up Richard Oak.
Argument.
Yeah.
I have no
Kathy,
argument.
do a good look.
Yeah, I have no comments, it's
I don't either, thank you, sir. So, the chair is open to a motion to approve this application.
I could move it unless someone else wants to.
Have we a second?
Yes.
Okay, so it's moved and
Okay.
seconded. Would you
Okay.
care to read it, Dean?
Sure. Okay, let's read the one condition, though. There's a condition that staff recommends that the applicant must receive a fence permit and deck permit from the city before beginning work, of course, yes. So there will be one condition. Okay, so I move that the Historic District Commission, based on the exhibits submitted, the applicant's testimony and the staff report findings and recommendation, approve Historic Area Work Permit HIST-7401-2016, deck alteration and gate installation, finding it in compliance with section 24-227.2 of the city code with one condition, and that condition is the applicant must receive a fence permit and deck permit from the city before beginning work.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? No? Congratulations, thank you very much, sir.
Thank you.
Very well. Next, Historic Area Work Permit 7413 regarding removing a tree. Chris?
Yes, the subject property at 102 Chestnut Street is contributing to the Chestnut Mean Historic District. The applicant seeks to remove an apple tree in the rear yard. The applicant, Philip Wessel, has provided the following photos. Some of them have captions. Here's a photo of the entire tree. And here is a close-up of the leaves of the tree to show that there is fungus on the leaves. And there are some dead branches in the canopy. There's some bug damage on the trunk. And there's fungus on the tree as well. The Chestnut Mean Historic District Design Guidelines note the following on page 13 in regards to the tree, that removal of a tree may require a replacement tree of 2.5 inches caliber, which, if advisable, should be planted close to the original location. Are there any questions?
No, once again, I've forgotten to check for conflict, so have we any, I know you're a
Yeah, I
neighbor.
want to disclose again, I'm a neighbor, and it's the Chestnut Mean Historic District that I live in as well.
Very well.
And I guess we should note that Phil used to be on
And-
Historic
and
District Commission.
HDC Commissioner, yeah.
Okay.
And we regret that he's not here. We can't give him a hard time.
Is any member of the public wish to speak to this? You don't have to. Okay. So what is the pleasure of the commission? Let me start with you, Mark, this time.
I mean, it's sad that the tree is in the shape that it is in, but in reading the testimony, it's obviously through no fault of the current owner, and it appears that it's only going to deteriorate more. So I have no issue with the removal on the condition that it is replaced with a tree per the city guidelines.
I just want to add a sentimental note. Of course, it's my neighbor, so I've made apple pie from this tree and apple crisp from this tree, but I can also attest to its decline. And I am sad as well, but I agree that it is time.
I don't recall getting either.
Yes, yeah, I'm waiting, I will address that. Yes.
Was there an arborist report?
There was not an arborist
I
report.
couldn't find one, okay. All right, that's my only question.
Okay.
Oh, I do want to add a condition that the tree gets ground down to grade. The stump gets ground down to grade.
Okay, all right. I have a question. Is the tree still bearing fruit, do you know?
I'm not certain, no.
That's a good question, because typically the whole ground and the sidewalk are littered, and to be perfectly honest, I did
Well, I
not
just want to make
notice
sure if
any
the timing is such that you can retrieve some
You
apples
know
and
I
make
will.
something for the community. No, there's a codicil to that. No, we expect to see some apple-related yummy. But anyway, no, obviously, but I would be, it's rare to see a tree that has grown that way, because normally when you have a fruit tree, you're pruning it and keeping it lower.
I don't believe the previous owners, and that was 2 sets of them, ever really maintenanced it or
Yeah.
treated it for infestation. And I
Right.
believe Philip
Well,
put that in his notes for the record.
okay.
It had not been cared for properly.
Okay, well, I will then see if we have a vote or a motion to approve the recommendation, and if before it goes down or as it goes down, you can nab any apples, please do.
I will.
Would you
Do you want to read
would
it?
you care to
Yeah,
move since it's your,
Yeah, go ahead, Mary Jo.
Okay.
your tree? Your neighbor's tree? Would you care to move?
I propose that
Okay,
we
wait, we need
approve
a second.
I'll second it.
All right, very well.
HIST 7413-2016, with the one condition that the stump be ground to grade.
There's another condition that predetermined.
Oh, and also, that a tree replacement tree on the property of a species listed on the Chestnut Beam Historic District Guidelines. Also.
Suggested plant-
So there'd be a second, there'd be 2 conditions, Chris, that plus.
It also has to be, I think it has to be a certain caliper per the regulations. Was it? I can't remember.
Right, I think as long as we say it's as
As
per the code, or the
Yeah.
guidelines, that
Okay.
covers it.
Yeah.
Okay.
And for
All right.
staff
2 conditions.
recommendation.
So, we have moved and second, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposition? Very well, thank you very much. Very well, staff updates. No staff updates. Commission updates. Well, I want to say, I am very happy to see our partner in crime, my partner in crime, the guy who does his best, along with Frank, to keep me out of trouble, back and looking haler and fitter.
Thank you. I'm glad to be back.
Good, good. Lastly, we did have the second annual Crab Fest of the MAHDC, which I represent you, that's the Maryland Association of Historic District Commissioners, and it was phenomenal. It was held at Clayton's, W. Clayton's in Cambridge, Maryland, and if you like crabs, come next year if you can. It is a processing plant. The only time they've ever opened it for people to actually sit there and consume it is for us, because one of the Cambridge commissioners, you know, the Claytons, but it's the world's oldest continuous crab processing plant, and it's right on a little tributary. And the boats come up and they lift the crabs up in the net, and then there's this long chute, brings them into the building, and the building is a cement floor and these long stainless steel tables with these pull down rinsers and a big groove and paper towels and the like. And, you know, there are all these stainless steel things, and this is Laverne's, and this is Juan's, everybody has their own little station. So you're never gonna get crabs any fresher or better than that.
And may I ask, is there a tour involved too, or no? You
Yes,
just- oh,
there is a tour involved,
Wonderful.
and there's a walking tour. We're gonna try and have a driving tour next year as well.
Mm.
So, you know, not just to show the flag, but if you like crabs, I happen to, believe it or not, I don't eat them. My wife is a fiend.
I love them.
So I have hot dogs. There's fresh picked corn, there's other goodies. And it's just a lot of fun, and it's for a good cause.
Great.
And we have live auctions. I dress up in a crab outfit, and we auction crab and Maryland-related stuff. So if you want to see your chair make even more of a fool of himself than usual. All right, on that happy note, we'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So move.
Second.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.